Hello. It is 862 days until Sonic the Movie 3. We're almost there. It's
Dang.
August 11th, and welcome to the S Rank Media Club Live. Today we have for you a ranking of Cage and a ranking of video game movies. Um, yeah, how's the week been?
Not bad. That was some. You have a calculator for that? For that Sonic
I
stat?
yeah, I count the days, so
Okay. You got the calendar up?
it's in
Is it
my
next
head.
to your
It's
bed? Oh, it's not
eight.
next to your bed on the wall.
I can't forget 862.
Was that 2024?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
December 20th, 2024. So
Okay.
start getting hype now. Build the train.
All right. Guess so. Um, I guess I'll take it away first. My week. I started Spy X Family,
Okay.
which is a fairly new anime. I think it's new this
Kudra,
year.
weren't you watching that one before? No?
You're muted.
Oh, Kudra, you're muted. Oh, man down. All right, you
Hold
can,
up, I got it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
yeah, I can hear you now. Didn't you watch that show?
Yeah. 12 episodes are out right now on Crunchyroll. It's good. It's solid. I'm actually really looking forward to the second half of that releasing in October, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm watching it on Hulu, um, subbed. So it's been pretty good. It's kind of like some of the things that happen, and you're like, okay, but it's still pretty funny.
Yeah.
So they do it very well. I would recommend it. I think it came out just this year, correct?
Yeah. I want to say it was part of the was it part of I think it was part of the spring season of anime, maybe summer,
Okay.
but
Yeah. So
yeah, it's recent. It's within the last few months.
right. Yeah. So I think I'm five episodes into that. I guess just to give the premise, there's a spy who has a new mission, and he needs a family to carry out this mission, and he needs to find a kid and a wife, and so that's kind of how it starts. And I guess if I say any more, it'll give it away. So I guess I won't. But it's definitely it's a nice anime, so would recommend. What else? Oh, I played some Hitman 3 on Xbox or PC Game Pass, I guess you should call it. Um, so that's been a lot of fun. I think I've completed 4 of the 7 or 8 levels now. I'm getting pretty good at it. It sometimes they can be pretty tedious because there's so many options when you get into the game about like how are you going to kill these people. It's usually 1 to 2 people. So are you going to shoot them? Are you going to poison them? Are you going to strangle them? Like there's so many options. It's insane. So I'd recommend it if you like kind of. It's more like a puzzle solving game too, but I think kind of the way it's laid out is very interesting because it's not just 2D, it's 3D in a way, and yeah, like I said, it's very open ended.
Mhm.
So, um, you guys played any of the Hitman games or no?
I've briefly played Hitman 3. Like there was a time where you could play the first level as a demo,
Hmm.
and I played a few hours in that. It seemed kind of interesting, but I didn't get far enough into it for it to hold me, so I didn't end up like playing it more after that. Seems
Right.
interesting though.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, I would say, but I think it's fun. What was I gonna say? It's very unique. Like I mean, unless I'm missing something, I haven't played really anything like it.
Mhm.
But if you to do it correctly, I think, or I guess there's no really correct way to do it, but the level can take you, 45 minutes to an hour to do. Um,
Mhm.
so it's not like something that you can. I mean, I'm sure you could speed run through it if you wanted to, but
Mhm.
um, on just the regular level difficulty, it takes some planning and precise movements and stuff like that. So I'll keep playing that and keep everybody updated with that. started playing Apex Legends a little bit again because a few of my friends were playing it.
Mhm.
Figured I'd give it a go again. I played it when it originally came out
Yeah.
on Xbox, like when it launched out of nowhere. Like
Right.
it was pretty crazy, and I was hyped about it because I was a big fan of Titanfall 2, and
Right.
Respawn, who develops Apex Legends, was the developer of Titanfall 2, so it was kind of cool to see that. But the game's definitely come a lot further now than it released.
Yeah. I still have never played that one, and it's always looked interesting, but it's the like height of entry has seemed too far for me to climb.
Yeah,
It's
I think it's definitely daunting. Like you watch some videos of some players, and you're like,
right.
it just looks scary.
You gotta like there's a lot of different character classes and stuff, and that stuff seems really cool, but it's like, man, I don't know. It's like you'd have to really dedicate a lot of time to probably get very far into the depth of the game, I feel
Right.
like.
Yeah. So that's probably something that I'll just play every once in a while. I'm
Mhm.
terrible at the game. Like I'm so bad, but it's fun. So
Yeah.
and then lastly, which I guess that didn't happen this week, but it's supposed to happen this weekend, which I guess I'll talk about more next
Mhm.
week as well, is I got into a closed alpha game called Hyenas, which is running this weekend. And
Gotcha.
it's supposed to be like a 5-team, 3-person to a team robbery
Mhm.
game.
Mhm.
So essentially the premise is like it's in the future and humans have left Earth, and all these billionaires like want to go back to Earth and basically get all these like electronics, like memorabilia, like they're
Mhm.
paying to go get a bunch of stuff back from Earth to bring it back to Mars, or I think it's
Mhm.
Mars. And so
Sure.
it's like a delicacy, right? And then you as a person within the game are like a outlaw or a pirate, a space pirate essentially, and
Yeah.
you're robbing these shipments of items. So I haven't really seen any gameplay. I don't think there's any gameplay out, so I'm really interested to see kind of how it plays.
That's always like a weird concept of like Mars being the place to be. Like
Right.
what we know about Mars actually. Like how bad
Right.
does the Earth have to get for us to be like, well, Mars is better?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'll play it this weekend and let you guys know. Also another caveat, Rumbleverse released, which I haven't played
I got that
since
email,
that
yeah.
one weekend, but now they have duos, so maybe that'll be fun, but
Maybe I'll actually give it a try now.
maybe, yeah. Let me know if you play it. I might jump in, but for me, it's not something that I'm gonna drop everything to go
For
play.
sure.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's kind of my week. But yeah, so
Kudra, what's the Xenoblade hour count at?
That's a fantastic question. I think I was playing it a little bit earlier today. I think it's like at 48 hours right now. So still,
Gotcha.
I'm probably still not halfway through. But admittedly, like I'm also doing like a ton of the side quests and such. So, yeah, probably at least another 50. Probably there's another 50, 60 hours to go.
What is there I guess talk about it a little bit. Is there any like flavor of Xenoblade that varies like significantly from standard kind of, what kind of systems does it implement that are like what is the Xenoblade outside of just a JRPG?
Well, okay. So if we're looking at Xenoblade, I mean, I've always thought the setting was pretty unique.
Okay.
So the setting itself is it's kind of like you live in this setting is this world in this like massive sea of clouds.
Yeah.
It's almost like everyone's like living above the clouds, but they live on top of these giant beings called Titans, which I mean, I guess like for all intents and purposes, they're effectively just like massive living creatures that serve as living continents.
Okay.
Um, and at least as far as Xenoblade 2 goes, a lot of the a lot of the Titans are kind of dying out.
Hmm.
So right now, your main effectively what happens is right now is like your main character, his name is Rex, and he ends up through a series of circumstances ended up getting a hold of this weapon which they call blades. He becomes the driver of this legendary one called the Aegis, and so they're trying.
You drive the monsters?
No, oh well. So blades are like these. They're almost like these humanoid living weapons that you
Okay, it's a
that can.
separate thing then.
Yeah, so like drivers can bind themselves to by connecting with core crystals. So there's actually even a mechanic within the game where it's like you can actually like just find like core crystals as you're kind of exploring the world,
Okay.
and then you can actually use those to bind with the drivers that you get throughout the game, the other characters, including Rex, to
Okay.
try to increase the number of blades that you have. Like you can
So
equip.
are they like summons in compare like
Not really.
okay.
I wouldn't call them summons. Not like a Final Fantasy way.
Right.
As I said, like they kind of just determine blades kind of determine like you have like weapon classes
Uh-huh.
which are basically like different weapon types. So I mean, and there's several of them. So it's like
Yeah.
blade. You have like swords, mega lances, bit balls, which I actually haven't used yet. Ether cannons.
Mhm.
You have like fists, and then you have, and then it
So
kind of
these are
varies.
these are different weapons within the game essentially?
Yeah, effectively, those are different weapon classes,
So
and each blade has like a weapon class and a blade type, which are
gotcha.
divided into tanks, healers, and like effectively your DPS.
And you can level those up? Like is there like a system to leveling your weapons up and making them better?
Yeah, effectively. So that would
Gotcha.
be a lot of that's like. So you have like the leveling system
Yeah.
standard in most RPGs, and that
Right.
will like level up your drivers.
Sure.
But
Oh,
then as
okay.
the blades, they run on what's more of a trust system. So you have to meet like certain requirements to unlock certain abilities, and sometimes so a lot of times it revolves around like just the amount of time like you've used the blade, fulfilling certain requirements in battles,
Mhm.
and then they'll get stronger and unlock new abilities that you can use
Gotcha.
not only in battle, but then you can also have certain field abilities that you can then interact with certain like obstacles and such in the world that can allow you to access like secret locations or access
Yeah.
chests or all sorts of
Gotcha.
things.
So then on top of that, is it like an active time battle system pretty much?
Pretty much, like I mean, you're basic like there are enemies all around the world map as you're kind of walking around
Yeah,
that you'll just encounter if you enter too close into their aggro range,
sure.
if you're right around their level and things like that. And then the way combat generally works is you have auto attacks, which are just the attacks that the party members do automatically.
Yeah.
Two of them are AI controlled. So generally speaking, you want to make sure that the ones that are AI controlled are simple enough that that you can trust the AI to do it.
I gotcha.
But the way combat, there's a lot of wonky. I wouldn't say wonkiness though. There's just a lot of layers to the combat,
Mhm.
which it actually makes it pretty interesting to engage with because so creatures have elements. A lot of them have elemental weaknesses that you generally want to exploit. Every blade has a different element. Uh, and then if you hit enemies with certain elements like 3 different times, you'll eventually get up to what's an elemental orb that you can then use off like chain attacks in order to pop, which will do increased damage. In addition to the elemental orbs will also seal
So
certain aspects of the monsters that they can't use
right.
against
So
you.
it's a pretty typical JRPG then. It sounds like in terms of like battle system and upgrading stuff. Not that that's bad. I'm not trying to degrade it with that. I'm just saying it's kind of like a modern standard JRPG.
I wouldn't. Okay. The game is anime as hell. I'll
Sure.
admit that.
A lot of JRPGs are.
Yeah, I mean that's one of their part of their charm. Uh, honestly, like I wouldn't say the battle system is standard for a JRPG. Like I've played several JRPGs, and this combat system is different. I'll definitely admit that. It takes quite a while to get used to, but once it clicks, it feels really good.
Interesting. Gotcha. Yeah, 'cause
Uh,
outside of hearing the name a ton for the last however many years, I don't really know much about it. So
yeah, I mean they're good RPGs. As I said, I beat the first one. The first one has some similar premises, but very different story beats. The thing I actually find funny about it is comparing the first and the second one.
yeah.
The first one didn't feel anywhere near as anime as the second one does.
Yeah, I mean, once I get through the Dot Hack series, I'll give it a try, maybe.
There. Funny enough, I've never played those.
I have not either, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah, two different series.
So I didn't play a ton of games this week. I played some Hades, the game that we've been playing for our group media. I downloaded Sea of Thieves and did like the tutorial mission. That game seems like it could be a lot of fun. Outside of that, there are some friends here this weekend, so we were out a lot over the weekend. Didn't play a ton over the weekend. Um, yeah,
Did you
played
watch anything?
Oh, I started season 3 of The Boys. It's such a good show.
I need to watch season 2.
I've only watched one episode of season 3. I'm gonna watch some more this weekend.
I have some issues with I have some issues with some of the writing in season 3, but we can talk about that when you get a little bit further.
Gotcha. But yeah, not a ton of other games for me to talk about. I'm looking for my next like kind of single player game to latch onto. I guess I do want to play some more Monster Hunter. So, oh yeah, Quinn, we played some Monster Hunter over the
We
last.
did.
Yeah. So I might play some more of
Yeah.
that. But
We got beat up by the
all right.
what's it called? Why am I blanking on it? Nergigante.
Right. Yes.
Colton got destroyed by the Nergigante a couple times.
Well, that happens. That thing has like a one-hit kill move. The first time I fought it, I thought I was like drastically underprepared or something.
Sometimes it feels like Nergigante will get like this double kick on you.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And then what was the other one we fought that we didn't beat because I didn't have time?
The
lion-looking one.
Yeah, the Elder Dragon. Teostra. Teostra?
Yep, Teostra.
Yeah, Teostra. Yep.
Because I took that one with top tier.
Yeah, we were struggling. I mean, he had to be so low. Like there was no way he wasn't about to die.
Yeah, it felt like we were close.
Unfortunately, I'll have to save that for another time.
So, shall we go into our first episode of ranking of video game movies?
Sounds good.
Great. So, Final Fantasy Spirits Within. Get the graphics set up here. Yeah, and then if you want to just introduce it, because we'll post it separately later on your way in, and then other than that, I think we're good.
All right. So, welcome to the first episodes of ranking of video game movies. We're starting off with Final Fantasy Spirits Within. I'm here with Colton and Kudrow, and I think we're going to start with. Oh yeah, I'm Quinn. Sorry. I'm new to the hosting, but I'll get there. But yeah, our first movie was Final Fantasy Spirits Within. I believe
2001.
Okay, yep, 2001. I don't know why 19. I was thinking 19.
July.
I think I was seeing stuff about 1999. I think somewhere. So that was in my brain. But yeah, released July 11th, 2001, which is obviously a part of the Final Fantasy franchise of games from was it Square Enix, correct?
Yeah, well, so it was Square for a while. At that time, it was not Square Enix when this movie came out. Partially, you could say that the failure of this movie is partially the reason they became Square Enix, because this movie bombed so hard. But yeah.
Right. Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, it says right here had a budget of $137 million and only managed to gain $85 million worldwide.
Oh, well, it's not as bad as I thought it was, I guess. But
Still a loss of 50 mil.
yeah,
sure.
it says it delayed the merge between Square Co. and Enix. So
Oh, it
there you
delayed
go.
it, so they're already
Yeah.
going to merge anyways. Gotcha.
Yeah.
According to what I'm looking at, yeah. It did receive 5 nominations for different awards.
Like visual effects stuff.
I'm not sure on specifics.
I gotcha. I would
I'm
have
kinda
to
looking at
bet
the
it's
wiki,
like
so
visual effects stuff that it would be awarded for. I can't
probably.
imagine it was for any of the movie aspects.
We'll
But
get into that later. But yeah, I guess I'll get it started with kind of a synopsis of the movie, and then we can go into kind of our thoughts and feelings about the movie. So it takes place on Earth in the year 2065. So like actually not too far away from where we are now, I'd say, but it starts off with in a world where there's phantoms that have taken over the world, or what we believed to have taken over the world. And it has caused humanity to kind of take cover in these barrier cities. So they're able to use this I don't even know what it was called,
yeah, right.
or other energy shield or something like that.
Magical shield.
Mhm.
Right. That protects them from phantoms coming in. And the phantoms are, I guess, what you'd think of as a phantom. They're kind of like these spirity energy beings that kill people. So they'll attack you if you're not protected, essentially. So that's kind of like the setting. It's essentially a post-apocalyptic Earth, and we're taking in Aki. Dr. Aki is in old New York City looking for the sixth spirit, as we come to find out, which she's looking for by herself without any protection. And then the Deep Eyes squad comes in and is like, what the hell are you doing here? Like, you're not supposed to be here. But she's very stubborn, and she goes and finds this sixth spirit, which turns out to be a little itty bitty plant of some sort. They keep calling it a weed, or I don't know. The squad's not
They don't care.
to see what. Yeah, they're not excited to see what it is. They're not blown away. Let's say they don't have much information, to be fair. But so anyway, they kind of are able to get her and the sixth spirit out with a little bit of trouble because they spent too much time kind of looking for it. So then they make it back, and turns out the captain of this Deep Eyes squad is an old acquaintance of Aki's. His name's Gray. Gray Edwards, I believe. And so they're kind of have this weird, I think it's like a love interest kind of relationship, at least as initially as it's put out there in the movie. And they come back, and turns out Gray has been infected by a phantom. So he's like quarantined, and then turns out Aki saves him using some laser equipment, which I guess is kind of a little bit of a foreshadowing in the movie. And I guess the main like problem is for humanity, how are they going to get rid of these phantoms? So we come to this council meeting where Aki and her superior, Dr. Sid, are talking about, what their options are. And essentially there's two options. There's a big laser in space that they can shoot at this crater, which we come to find out, the Zeus cannon, which is where we come to find that the phantoms are originating from. So essentially, the phantoms came from outer space on a meteor that crashed into Earth, and then they just spread throughout the Earth, causing, wreaking havoc, killing everybody until they obviously were able to create these barrier cities. And Aki has these visions, which seems to be how this alien race was destroyed back on their home planet. So you see all the destruction, and then a meteor kind of breaks off of the island, the the planet they come from and goes towards the Earth. So back to humanity's issues, they want to get rid of the Phantoms, obviously. So there you can either shoot them with this big laser, which should hopefully destroy the source, or Dr. Sid has an idea of essentially using waves to disrupt the Phantoms. I really didn't get what the idea of it was behind it. I don't know if you guys did, but it wasn't really that overwhelming to me in terms of convincing me.
Right. A lot of things are just kind of left unexplained, and like you just agreed.
It's definitely not as fleshed out as it could have been, but it seems the general plan was they're trying to find 8 spirits, and what they're looking for specifically is 8 spirits with certain wavelengths that they can they'll combine and create this certain energy wave that almost would act like a that effectively would like run opposite to the energy wavelength that the Phantoms give off, which effectively would
like a neutralization.
Like neutralizing them.
Right.
Which I think actually does have a basis in particle physics, but can't say too much about it other than that.
I mean, nothing about this movie feels like it has a basis.
We'll get to that. But anyway, so now we get to meet General, I forget his name.
The evil guy.
General
the guy they're obviously setting up to be the pure evil villain.
He's got a leather black like duster and black gloves. Like he's the evil guy. You just know as soon as you see him, and he's convinced that they need to use the laser cannon because he's the big evil guy, I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. He's all about power. He's kind of wants to get back at the Phantoms because they killed his wife and his child. So he's all about destroying them with brute force. Dr. Sid's like, hold up. If you use the laser, you'll damage the Earth spirit, Gaia. So you kind of get to see how the spirit world kind of connects to the physical world, which I think is a big portion of this movie is, the spirits versus the physical world. So they're kind of going back and forth, and then everybody's like, well, we want proof that this Gaia, is real or exists. And they don't really have any proof, but then Aki exposes herself and says, I have a phantom living within me. Like, we have it contained, essentially. I'm not really sure, like how convincing that, like, bridges the gap there, but I guess it works.
It kind of does the opposite effect, right? Because you kind of end up because Aki is infected with the phantom particles that obviously they're contained, but because she has them, that actually convinces Hein that hey, we gotta keep an eye on her because she might be a turncoat.
Right. Yeah. So now the general is like scrutinizing them a little more, but they're able to kind of continue on their mission of finding these 8 spirits. So on their next mission, they go out to Tucson, I believe, the Badlands area, and out in Arizona to try and find this 7th spirit, which they end up finding. But it turns out that the Phantoms are attracted to the phantom within Aki, which causes, I think, one guard to lose or one soldier to lose their life. And then the general had sent a couple soldiers to keep an eye on, the captain and Aki, and they weren't having it. So they kind of revolted against those 2 guys, and then they got back, and things didn't go over very well. They were essentially arrested while coming to find out Aki is dying from, the phantom within her. So the general arrests them, and then he's just looking for a reason he's looking to the council to allow him to use the laser. So he has the bright idea to take down the shields in one sector of the barrier city to let some phantoms in, and then just to neutralize them, I guess. but as kind of a way to convince the council that they need to use the laser, which like I can kind of understand, but if you were going to neutralize them anyway, like if that was your plan, obviously they were going to kill some people because they, from the way they put it out in the movie, like they just let it open and they're like, okay, now go into that sector and go get rid of the phantoms. They're like,
Right.
they didn't prepare at all for it. They just opened it and then they sent people. So he was obviously willing to sacrifice a certain amount of human life for the cause to convince the council. And it kind of backfires because the phantoms are able to move through the plasma like infrastructure. So they escape the sector that they opened and they start wreaking havoc. And so everybody's evacuating, including the general, who somehow makes it out alive after everybody else in the room dies. And then the rest of the team and the doctors make it out as well from their prison. And I think a big point that they, or I don't know if I want to say point, but kind of a turning point within the plot line is they have this realization that the aliens aren't necessarily invading, or the phantoms aren't invading. It's more of they just kind of ended up here. Like they didn't choose to come here. They died on their home planet and then they became ghosts and got launched into space, and they just so happened to land on Earth.
Yeah, they called them confused. They called the phantoms confused.
Right. So like I kind of understand that, but it's still like, well, they're still gonna kill you, right? Like they're obviously aggressive and bad things.
They call them confused, but then it's like the rest of it would imply that they have been like maliciously going after people. So I'm not
Right.
sure how that evens out, but
right. It didn't seem like. I mean, we obviously don't know who was the aggressor first, but it doesn't seem like the human. I mean, maybe the humans attacked first. I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Right.
The humans are still going to try and get rid of them. I guess it doesn't really matter. So everybody escapes. The general is like out in space, and he's like, I think he's contemplating suicide because he's like, he just messed up.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. About to say he's got the gun to his head.
Right.
He's getting ready to pull the trigger, and then he hears that he gets that communication over the comm.
Right. That he can use the Zeus cannon to do what he wanted. And so he's like, oh yeah, hell yeah. Let's go. Where in parallel, Aki and Dr. Ross come up with this plan to do the opposite, use the wave.
Right. We need the eighth one. We need to go to the source to use the eighth one. They're like, we can do it at the site.
Right. So from her dream, right, she's told by one of the phantoms or one of the aliens that the eighth one is within the crater. So then they use one of those vehicles to go into the crater, find the eighth one, and use the wave disbursement plan. This is all happening while the Zeus cannon's firing. I think it fires once and destroys the ship or no, it fires once and then it like doesn't do much, and then he fires it again and it breaks the ship.
Right.
And it blows itself up, so the general dies. And then Gray was trying to use the battery from the ship, but then the ship blew up to disperse the waves. So then he uses his own body to disperse the waves from Aki, and essentially sacrifices himself to neutralize the phantoms, which ultimately works. So yeah, and then the Earth is phantom free.
Yeah. As I was saying, nothing in this movie has a good basis. I feel like it just from the beginning, I could not oh my gosh, nothing at no point in this movie was I like, oh yeah, that makes sense. None. It's just like this. It's just like a cascading, just garbage fire. Did you
Right.
get what did you guys think?
Not the best first impression. I definitely think it's an interesting concept. I think it is a little played out. Like it's well,
Yeah.
I guess I can't say it's played out because it was made in 2001. So, but yeah,
I mean,
humans and taking over the world and getting rid of the apocalypse type of thing. So,
right. And some of the concepts are fine, I guess, but just the spirits and like I just feel like they're going after the sixth spirit. And I feel like you just kind of get dropped in. We're going after the sixth spirit, and they never really explain what the hell the deal is with the eight spirits. Did
Well,
they?
I mean, like it's kind of like alluded to, like not very well, admittedly, but so the whole thing is, I mean, the whole thing is just kind of like what I said a little bit earlier. It's like, you're looking for eight spirits because, okay, so everything on the planet has a spirit, and it seems as though the spirits come from Gaia. Like, honestly, like it almost seems like they ripped like the concept of the life stream right from Final Fantasy VII.
Right. I was thinking that
Yeah,
too.
like everything, like everything comes from Gaia. Everything returns to Gaia.
Right.
So, but the whole thing is like, every single creature has a spirit, and it seems as though like what they're looking for specifically are eight specific spirits that have these like specific wavelengths that they're then going to like, kind of put together to create this certain wavelength that will, effectively, basically will run like the opposite form of wavelength to the phantoms, and then that'll kind of like, I guess eliminate them. It is kind of
Right.
neutralize them.
It's just
yeah,
like
neutralize them.
everything about the phantoms is weird, and I don't understand why they did all that. Like, did the did showing like actual monsters with like some whatever the skin texture they could create, did it not look good? So they're like, okay, we got to make them all like glowy red outlines. I I just don't. I have to imagine that's why. Because why make them all just glowy red outlines? That's not any fun.
Well, I feel like it's kind of I think it's actually part of like an indicator that these are spirits that come from a different planet.
Mhm.
So like if when you look at when phantoms were pulling out the souls
Oh, the humans, yeah,
of the
yeah,
human beings,
yeah.
you see the color of their soul very clearly. It's blue, which is the exact same color as the Gaia spirit that you encounter in the mountain.
Oh, the Gaia
So
spirit. Oh my god.
yeah, so it's all, you see that very clearly, but then it seems like, and then the converse, like the aliens are like, glowing like this orange color, which is the same color of like the alien, as like the aliens planet spirit
Yeah.
that starts popping out of the ground once the Zeus cannon starts getting fired at it. So I think it's just kind of like, one of those early indicators that like, this is, and it's almost like a little bit of foreshadowing. It's like, hey, these are just like spirits that, they're from a different place.
I gotcha. The Gaia, like that blue pool, how does that look so like the Mako pools with PS1 graphics look better than what that Gaia pool looked like. I don't the most anti-climactic like pool of life source I've ever seen.
That's $137 million pool right there.
I guess so. I like some of the character movements and character models don't really hold up, which I guess makes sense considering, it was probably one of the earlier things to do this kind of thing. Um, but that doesn't make it okay watching it now. Um, so I I don't I also the voice acting is just atrocious. I felt like the voice acting of nearly every character was awful. It's like just so flat and like oh, it was so unengaging. I felt like the whole time I'm watching the movie, I don't care about what any of the characters are doing. I don't even know what the hell they're doing half the time. I have to really like
Right.
it doesn't do a good job of
Yeah.
leading you along into the story. I feel like the biggest thing is it at no point drags me into the story, or I feel like it doesn't do a good enough job of setting up its own world, and I just bounce right off of it because I I have no fun watching this movie.
Yeah. I definitely was struggling to make a connection with any of the characters. I think the most interesting like character relationship was just Aki and Gray. Like, yeah, that was, there's some like emotion there, but other than that, like really not much. Like they tried to make the general kind of more human with his wife and child being killed, but it just seemed like it was thrown in there for no reason. Like that's his motive, but I didn't really feel like drawn to him as a character for that reason. I don't know. Um, I didn't feel bad for Aki. I didn't really feel bad for humanity, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I think you put it well. It's just it didn't draw me in. It didn't do that for me. So
And the bigger sad thing for me is I think a lot of the Final Fantasies have really cool worlds, and then you come at this and it's just one of the worst. I have zero interest in whatever world they built. I was saying I didn't care what happened. I'm like, yeah, blow up the planet. I don't care. Like it's uh, are the rest of the people on the planet like this? Man, do you guys have any redeeming things to say about this movie? Because I think I have almost none. Even the music, like think about all the great Final Fantasy music, and then I didn't. I mean, the music in this is it's probably better than the other aspects of it. And
I wish there was a little more color. It felt very bland. Like
yeah,
there's plenty of animations, back. I don't want to say back then, but in the 2000s that weren't like as bland as this. I
yeah,
I
and
I get you're trying to paint the picture of like apocalyptic, but I feel
yeah.
like they could have added a little more color. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe they're trying to show kind of the differences between like the spirits, like when she had the plant, like the plant was a lot more colorful, like it was a very like bright green, so I guess that might have been their artistic choice. But
Mhm.
I think in terms of like world building, it would have been cool to see what's inside the barrier city, like what does the city look like,
Right. I don't know what the
what
world was. I
right,
guess.
it was just a bunch of hallways and equipment and
Mhm.
like bland gray
And I almost,
hallways.
did they like specifically like, okay, we need to go to a bigger audience. We can't have like the anime Final Fantasy type stuff in here. Like, I wonder if they intentionally went away from the over the top stuff you might see in a JRPG game, which I think really hurts it because that would have been way more fun.
Well, I feel like the problem there is like, and this is probably part of the reason why the movie didn't really do that well,
Mhm.
is because like I feel like it tried in some ways to appeal to a mainstream audience, which
Mhm.
didn't work because it still had Final Fantasy attached to it. And but then it also didn't really do much to draw in your Final Fantasy fans because it was completely disconnected from the rest of the franchise. And just as kind of what we're pointing out here is the world was very underdeveloped,
Mhm.
and it's not really enough to draw people in. So it's like you're not appealing to the casual fans, you're not appealing to the Final Fantasy fans. So I mean, you're not really finding a fan base.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what you guys have to say, but I found nothing redeeming about this movie, and it's one of the worst movies I've seen in a while.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, if we're gonna, okay, I'm gonna be the devil's
All
advocate.
right, let's take your stand
Devil's
here.
advocate. All right, look. As far as the animation goes, I really don't feel like this like the animation and such would be that out of place with like an eighth gen video game. Like like
Sure.
a lot of it just felt like watching one long like cutscene on the
Yeah.
PlayStation 4.
Fair.
Like I mean, fine. That's perfectly fine. I mean, I didn't really think the voice acting was that bad,
Really? Okay.
which is kind of surprising because like I mean, actually, there's a lot of big names
Right, I
attached
did
to
see
it.
that. I
Uh,
it's the delivery just felt so flat throughout all the movie, and all the characters seemed kind of disinterested to me. Maybe I'm trying to think who might have been like the Doctor Sid guy. Maybe he was okay. There's a Final Fantasy call out, Sid.
yeah, that's literally like yeah, like that was one of the big things like I was trying to do as I was watching this movie. It's like what tells me this is a Final Fantasy movie?
Yeah,
Like
Sid.
what
I
tells me
think
this Final Fantasy like Sid and the live stream
the live stream.
parallel. Yeah, it's like
Right,
that right there. Other than that though, it's like it's Final Fantasy in name only, which
right.
I honestly I almost wonder if the movie would have did better if they just called it The Spirits Within and just let it stand on its own as a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, they. I mean, yeah.
They
You
had
know, and
Alec
it.
Baldwin and Steve Buscemi.
Oh, I remember Steve Buscemi. Was Alec Baldwin Gray? Who's that?
Yeah, he was great.
Yep,
Yeah.
Captain Gray, Steve Bush. Let's see here. Ving Rhames, James Woods was General Hine.
Yeah, and you know, some of that could just be literally the dialogue in the script they're given to work with. I don't feel like any of it was particularly good.
I, I mean, yeah, I can see where you're. I said, like, I'm not saying like this. The world is not the most engaging. It's not the most well developed. I think the movie probably could have used another 30 minutes of runtime to really explore more of the setting and explain and maybe even better explain its premise. There are certain subtleties though in the writing that I think I came to appreciate, particularly at the end.
Yeah.
So I mean, like one of the things that I think we kind of glazed over when we were doing the plot synopsis was like because like after the city was destroyed and the captain lost the three men to the Phantoms as they were leaving, like you see Gray and Aki sleep together. And so I think, and based on like
Right.
the dialogue, because there's there's a lot of lines where they're talking about how, like the reason they're looking for the eighth spirit, and the eighth spirit is supposed to be converting from like it converts. It basically, so the eighth spirit is a phantom that converts into a more into a Gaia spirit when it's exposed to a new life, when it's exposed to a new Gaia spirit.
Mhm.
So like and I think that's kind of like the implication of like why so that the phantom that was inside of Aki gets turned into a Gaia type spirit because it
Mhm.
was exposed to a new life from Gaia, aka her and Gray's now unborn child.
And some of that stuff, I feel like for me, like that stuff gets ruined by the fact that the world building didn't draw me in, so I'm not interested in the intricacies of the world, I guess. Like at that point in the movie, I was kind of everything they did, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, you're dumb.
I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean, maybe I'm just. I mean, maybe certain things like didn't bother me as much as they did you. I still,
Yeah, no, that's yeah,
yeah,
it's understandable. I'm sure there's people who don't think this movie's terrible, but I think it is an atrocity. So I'll start off. I would I give this movie an F. Um, I can't. This movie was so bad. There's nothing redeeming either. I, nothing. F.
Dang,
I,
it's pretty harsh.
I respect your opinion. I feel that it's wrong, but I respect it.
So where are you guys at on this one?
Quinn, what about you?
Yeah, I don't like it either. I won't go as low as an F. I'm gonna go with a D because
D.
it didn't really
Wow.
draw me in, and like Colton said,
Wow.
um, it didn't do it for me. I think maybe I didn't spend enough time trying to really like understand what
Don't
the
apologize for the
connections
movie.
were. I'm not trying to apologize, but yeah, it happens to me sometimes. Like
You're
I
making
don't
up
like.
excuses for this awful movie.
I'm not.
You're like, it was trying to be better.
I think your perspective can change as you talk about it. No,
Yeah, no, that's
I
true.
think it's fair.
I think the more I talk
But
about it,
yeah,
the more I dislike it.
you just get angry. You're just Final Fantasy. You just remember how you played the game, and you're like,
Yeah.
"What? Why is
What the hell is this?
Final Fantasy? What is this garbage?" Yeah. So I'll stick with a D, but it's free on YouTube. So if you really want to go watch it, you can go watch it on YouTube.
Don't watch this movie.
See, I don't know. I feel like this movie was definitely worth a watch. I feel like I should have rewatched it, honestly. I think I'll probably do that a little bit later in the month.
Wait,
Just
when
to
was the
maybe
last time you watched it?
All right,
I mean, just like yesterday.
he's committed to watching it again this month. You have to sit through that again this month.
I will sit through it again this month. Yeah, because I'm wondering if it'll get better on a second watch through.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if this is a movie that needs it.
let me know if it does.
I mean, hey, I'll be happy to update the ranking if and when I do. Right now, I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it at a C.
Oh
Right.
my gosh.
I
A
feel.
C.
I think they're. I think the animation, which I enjoyed. I mean, some of the characters in the world building falls a little flatter than I would like. I think there are enough interesting concepts presented in the movie and the animation itself, which is really nice to look at. At least for me, it was.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with a C.
All right.
If it changes, my maybe this rating will change.
All right. Well, let's talk about overall where we would put this. This is our first one of the ranking of video games. So this will be our first placement in the tier. So obviously, I think it should be at F, but Kudra has some strong opinions here about it being higher than that. I mean, what do you think, Kudra? Like an E, or what do we put it in the E tier?
I mean, I feel like I feel like an E tier is insulting. If we're gonna put it anywhere, if we're gonna balance these three rankings, we can put it in D tier.
All right, you think it deserves to be in D? All right,
I think D tier is fair.
We'll put
Can
it
you
in
accept
D.
that, Colton?
Yeah, we'll put it in D for now, and then once we get some more movies in here, we can take a look back and be like, "Wow, that movie really was not good," and then we'll be like, it's probably actually an F.
Look, we're talking about
Wait.
video game movie adaptations.
That's
There's
what
going
I
to be
was
a
gonna
lot
say.
worse than this. I'm willing to bet money there's going to be a lot worse than this.
I can't wait till we watch Super Mario
I think if
Brothers.
anything, this movie is only going to go up because we're going to be like, no, in comparison to
Up
this,
from a
Final
D.
Fantasy Spirits Within was
Oh
really
my
not
gosh.
that bad.
Well, I was gonna say real quick, we already did watch a superhero, a video game movie as a part of the podcast. We
What'd we
watched Sonic
watch?
2.
Oh, we did watch Sonic 2. All right,
So do you want to add that right now?
Yeah, let's tier up Sonic 2. Where does Sonic 2 fit in the overall tier? So if we're talking video game movies,
What did we all watch that? What did we all rank that? I got to look back at our.
Kudra, look up the ranking for us. So I'm thinking tier wise in video game movies, Sonic, it was like a good movie to watch, but I just felt like it wasn't like a great movie. It was just kind of a watchable movie, and it wasn't bad. To me, Sonic, it's probably like a C tier, but I'm guessing you guys think it's better than that.
Oh,
Wow. It looks like we don't have a Sonic 2 in our
about to say it's
archives.
like
because we did watch it and talk about it before.
I think it was all like in the usually like in the beginning of the episode where we were doing like the informal stuff. I figured we were going to make that its own episode a little bit later.
All right, then we'll come back to Sonic 2
Yeah, we can
later
do
and
that.
rewatch it and do a full discussion. But yeah, Quinn, you want to call it the final?
Yeah. So final ranking, for Final Fantasy Spirits Within on ranking of video game movies, we're going with the D tier. We'll continue to watch more video game movies, and I think this week we'll be watching the relatively new Uncharted movie with what's his name?
Mark Wahlberg?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland.
AKA Spider-Man.
Yep. The most recent Spider-Man. So feel free to watch that this week, and we'll come and rank that next Thursday at 9 p.m.
It's right on Netflix, by the way. So the Netflix just added it.
Sick.
All right. Cool.
Okay. We should have Josh joining us here for ranking of Cage soon. Did we have any other segments to do this week?
Could do a Steam review.
Gotcha. Oh, I got a segment too. Whenever you guys, we already did our segment at the beginning of the show. How many days until Sonic 3 the movie? It's 862. Just to reiterate that.
I can't believe you rated that net, Colton. I just can't. I can't believe it.
It's a terrible movie.
I feel like as we watch,
I think it was that-
I'm willing to bet as we watch more video game movies,
You
that
think it's
ranking
going to go up? I think it's going to go
it's gonna
down. I think it's going to go down to an E.
It could. Guess we'll have to find out. Do you
all
want
right,
to do a Steam review, or do you have
Yeah.
something?
Oh no, we can do mine before or after. We can do mine after.
Oh, it shouldn't take too long.
Yeah.
So, just to remind everybody of the rules, Steam review of the week. I find a few Steam reviews for one game. I read them off to Colton and Kudrow, and they have to guess what game it is based off the reviews. And the reviews should be harder at the beginning, so it's tougher to get it off one review, and then obviously it'll get more easy to predict it or to guess it after the second and third review.
And I believe what we determined last week was we both have to submit our answer for each round. And Kudrow is up 1-0 in the all-time Steam review scoring.
Yeah, spoiler alert though, we've never gotten it after I don't even think we've gotten it after the first two.
Well, you got it last week, I think.
Yeah, you got a second one.
If I remember correctly.
Oh, what was last week? Was what?
It was
Grand Theft Auto.
It was Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, yep, it was Grand Theft Auto. Yep, that's what it was.
You were unsure, but then you were like, oh, the only thing I can think of was Grand Theft Auto, and that turned out to be the correct answer. So, anyway, so our first review, they recommend the game with 115.6 hours on record. It was posted December 9th, 2020, and the review is: they made an 18-plus game. They also waited for everyone to turn 18-plus. How convenient.
Made an 18-plus game and waited for everyone to turn 18. So it's a game series that's been around for 2020. They were turning 18. So it's like something 18-year-olds in 2020 played as children.
No.
Waited for everybody to turn.
I mean, I feel like it could have maybe just been.
It's alluding to the amount of time it was developed. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like the game is a long development cycle.
I'll give you that as a hint.
Oh, okay. Long development cycle game, rated M, took a long.
That's hard.
What game took a long time? The game. I'm gonna go.
And it also had like 100 hours in it, so that would
100
tell me that this is a long game.
100 hours, rated M, took a long time to make.
No, do I need to set a time limit here?
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna go. I got nothing. I'm gonna go. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ooh, that's probably a good guess, actually.
I don't think it's a good guess. I got nothing though. All right, throw it up, Kudrow.
I've almost wondered. I have a couple games that I'm thinking of, but I think is it Prey? I've heard quite a bit about that game.
Wait,
I feel like I've heard that.
Oh, the game. Okay.
Title.
There's a new movie called Prey that you might have been hearing about.
Those are both incorrect answers.
That doesn't surprise me.
Hopefully this will give you a little better idea. This next one. So, they also recommend the game after only playing it 0.6 hours.
Okay.
Also posted in December of 2020. You can't blame them. They did release the game 57 years early.
Fallout 77. Fallout 76.
I need a final, like, this is my final guess.
Fallout
type of thing.
76. Final answer.
Okay.
What?
Kudrow?
That's
Were
not
the
a
other
bad
ones
guess,
M
actually.
rated? I don't know if the other ones were. I think the other ones were M rated. Maybe they weren't. Anyways, I'm locked in already.
Oh God, I have no clue.
I guess I can't give any more clues since Colton already locked his answer.
Yeah,
That would be
that's
unfair.
that's completely fair. Yeah, I have no freaking clue. I mean, so it's 2020. It's recent?
Oh, I guess I was supposed to give the type of game, wasn't I? I totally forgot about that.
That would definitely help.
Yeah, sorry.
You know what? I mean, how about Final Fantasy 15? Why not?
Those are both incorrect, unfortunately.
Oh, it's Fallout 76. Shit. Okay.
Before I
Oh yeah, give us the
last one.
the genre.
You guys have one. It's an RPG.
Okay.
Single player RPG.
I was on the right track.
Single player RPG. 2020. It's too late to be Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering when it was released.
Mass Effect Andromeda.
So it was released in December of 2020.
In December of 2020.
It's an open world single player RPG. And it's rated M. And it was very highly hyped.
Shit. We're missing like a
single player action RPG released in 2020, highly hyped.
2020.
Waited until long development cycle until the
All right.
Is...
Yep. All right, I'll give you the last one.
Yeah,
I should give it away.
Okay.
So,
hand on the
buzzer. The last, I won't even read like the hours or anything like that. The review is, unlike CDPR, I finished the game.
Oh, yeah.
Block him.
Yeah.
Wait. I didn't hear what you said. Well, what is it? Cyberpunk
2077. All right, well, count the point for me there. Not quick enough on the buzzer, Kudrow.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. You said it like the most jumbled, quick.
He said Cyberpunk.
That's like he had his hand like his hand was on the buzzer immediately.
Yeah, that was they released it 57 years too early. So 2077 minus 57 is 2020.
Yeah, that tracks. That tracks.
Yeah, so it was like one of, if not one of the most hyped games, I think.
Yeah,
video gaming history. I think
you could argue
totally got destroyed.
Disappointing games.
Yep.
So great match, Kudrow. We're tied up 1-1 now. So my segment here that I want to debut is called Mind Games, and it's where you talk about the games that you're not actually playing, but in your mind you're playing them. And for me, my mind game this week is me playing Stray and hating it more. But I don't have the actual motivation to go finish it, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't like it. So in my mind, I'm playing the rest of Stray and hating it. That's my mind game this week.
Did you see they modded Garfield in there?
I did, but it didn't really look like Garfield.
If I could just play a game of Garfield just eating lasagna and sleeping, I'd be fine doing that for a few hours, honestly. Trolling my owner.
Should I do my mind game?
Yeah, you got a mind game? What's your mind game this week?
I think it's partly because I'm just bad at the game, but I like to picture myself playing Valorant, but actually doing well in the game and ranking up. Because I'll watch Valorant videos or Valorant clips. I'm like, oh, this is Valorant. Easy. Like, it's easy. Yeah. And then I go in and play. I just get destroyed. I'm like, well, what's my problem? Like, you just point and click.
Yeah, point and click.
You go click and shoot, shoot, or point and shoot. It's like,
there you go.
But maybe one day I'll be good at Valorant. So
Kudrow,
that's my mind game.
Any mind games this week, Kudrow?
I mean, I feel like the closest I can get to is Smash. I still go. I go. Sometimes I go play a buddy of mine, and I'm still just getting destroyed. And then it's like I see like videos of like actual good Smash players. And it's like I feel like I should be able to do that, but I can't do that. But
Yep.
All right, looks like we got Josh here. Hey, Josh, how's it going?
Hey, what's up? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, wow, it works today.
on the first try, this is a
Wow.
grand occasion.
Thanks for having me. Nice to see everybody.
How's the week going for
See
you,
you too.
Josh?
It's going great. I just finished watching Valley Girl.
Oh, you just finished it?
It's fresh on your mind.
It took me several times. I had to watch it a couple times, a couple different times. I got so far, and then I thought I can't watch any more of this because it's so bad.
Oh, I thought you were like, oh, I need to restart to kind of rewatch part of it.
I did restart for
It-
a second, but then I thought, no way.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
can't
go
be.
way-
It couldn't have been a bad experience as watching Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
Terrible movie.
This movie is
At least-
this movie was far worse. A far worse part of my week.
It was
than the Spirits
horrible.
Within.
All right, so we'll go into ranking of Cage here. Got a graphics up. All right, I think we are all ready here. All right. This is Ranking of Cage Part 4, Valley Girl. I'm Colton, joined by Kudrow, Quinn, and Josh. So, the movie Valley Girl from 1983. And, of course, starring our favorite Nicolas Cage. So, the premise of this movie is that the two main characters, Julie and Randy, who is Nicolas Cage, Julie is a Valley girl, and Randy is from Hollywood and kind of part of like the rock scene on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood, is what it's projected as. So I'll kind of go through a general plot line of the whole movie here, and then we'll talk about it. So the movie opens up with Julie and her friends hanging out at the mall, and it starts to let you into the world, and they're the Valley Girls.
Start
And-
timer.
And then there's a party in the valley with the
Start
Valley
stop.
Girls and their friends. And then Randy and his friend crash this party, and they look completely out of place because they're like from the rock scene. And then Randy is talking to Julie at this party, and then you meet Julie's boyfriend Tommy, who comes up and talks to Randy and he's upset with him, and he punches him in the face. So Randy and his friend leave, and then you get a cageism where Nicolas Cage freaks out, kicks a car. They turn around, come back to the party. Randy sneaks in through the window, waits for other people to go through the bathroom until Julie finally comes into the bathroom. And then he convinces Julie to leave with him. Randy then takes Julie and her friend Stacy to a rock show on the Sunset Strip. And now the Valley Girls are the ones out of place in this like scene with the rock band playing. And then you go through this part where Randy and Julie kind of fall in love. Then after that, you find that Julie's friends are not into the idea of Julie being with Randy. And then Julie's having trouble deciding between Randy and Tommy. Julie eventually tells Randy she can't see him anymore, and then Randy is basically stalking Julie, sleeping outside of her house in a sleeping bag on her lawn. Following this, Julie and Tommy go to prom together. Randy shows up, fights Tommy. Julie starts a food fight by throwing like a pie at Randy, or not at Randy, at Tommy, and then Julie leaves in a car with Randy, and it's happily ever after that, I think.
What did happen? Where did they go?
The end of the movie, they drove into the credits.
Yeah, this movie felt like it started like slow, but then all of a sudden there was only 10 minutes left.
Yeah,
And like it went forever with like the same shit, and then it's like, wait, and now what are they gonna do? And then they made it out because of food fight. at the school dance.
Right.
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
I'm gonna go last because I have a pretty strong opinion on this movie.
So in the beginning, like you're getting all the like showing us the Valley Girls, showing us kind of the discrepancies between these two cultures, if you will. I find all of Julie's friends to be highly annoying. Um, and it's relatively uninteresting in the beginning. You just wish all these 18-year-olds would shut up. Um, and then like I don't know why. I don't know what the premise is in the beginning that they decide like why is Nicolas Cage there? And I don't know. It just seems kind of forced in the beginning. Um, but yeah, I don't get the draw of Nicolas Cage to want to go
Well,
to this.
the draw is that they're from different social classes, and the big divide is between the suburbs.
Using the Capulets.
I mean, you could make that analogy.
That's what it is, right? It's Juliet, Romeo and Juliet, Randy and Julie.
Well,
I don't think so. There's no family
I feel like it
involved.
falls into like. I mean, it definitely falls into the star-crossed lovers tropes a little bit, but it's not really. I'm not getting Romeo and Juliet vibes per se.
I mean, there is 100% that vibe though of Romeo and Juliet.
They're not allowed to be together.
There's no reason they can't be together other than like society says they can't be.
Right.
There is no reason they can't be together. They have, and that's basically their only connection is that they like just look at each other on the beach. That's why that they're just like love at first sight. You know, if your heart has ever been touched by the tender gaze of a woman on the beach, you can agree that love is a wonderful feeling, and that's what this movie is all about.
Yeah, that's what love is. Sure, let's go with that.
A couple. So the beginning of this movie, like for the first, I don't know, 20 to 25 minutes, I swear it's just people standing around and looking at each other and everyone just saying like, oh, this person's really cute or saying bitchin'. And that's like the first 25 minutes of the movie. And it keeps just cutting to all these different people. And I'm like, who the hell is this person? And then you have the one girl's mother trying to like hit on all the 17 and 18-year-olds. But
yeah, there's just so much happening.
Then Julie's parents, the scene where she's there with her friend Stacy and her dad says, Stacy, if I were 20 years younger, honey. And I was like, what?
Right.
Yeah, I stopped and looked up at that moment. I was like, what?
A little incest joke, like what?
It just goes. It just goes. No one says it's. Nobody stops it there. It's just.
She's like, Dad, stop.
This movie is super horny for no reason, and what it gets particularly disturbing when all the people that you see having sex and sleeping with one another are all high schoolers. It's like this is super.
Well, they're supposed to be, but they're actually like they look like they're all 40. And like the mom and dad of Julie looked like they were the same generation.
So
Julie
they did all look the same age. It's like,
yeah, I was like,
is her dad like 5 years older than her?
Yeah, this guy's clearly not her dad. It's clearly like they're in a play or something.
Right. I did look up how old Nick, because I'm like, Nicolas Cage does not look like a teenager. So I think they're all said to be like 17, 18 kind of in like the story. And it turns out Nicolas Cage in this movie was actually probably about 19. His actual age, 19, 20. So he wasn't too far over the age, but I would agree. Like I kept watching it and being like, they look like they're in their 20s and they're like acting like they're like 17, and it's weird that it's like a huge disconnect.
It was bitchin'.
And that felt very forced. All of like the slang felt really forced.
Yeah.
To me.
It was probably fine with people who grew up like in the 70s and the 80s.
And then the one friend who was like very specifically like a surfer, like all the surfer lingo I've ever heard came out of her mouth. I was like, you gonna go catch some waves? I don't. But
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. Maybe that was typical at the time for like what they're trying to depict. But it's
No, the
not
characters
a
are
fake.
really simple. The characters
Yeah.
are just like cardboard cutouts, and there's a
Right.
lot of them. It's like this
Yeah.
is like this movie has a lean main cast of 4 men playing against 4 main women.
Yeah.
It's like they're literally like plus their parents. It's like 8 kids. There's Nicolas Cage, good guy. Then the Dick, bad guy. I can't remember that guy's name.
Tommy.
That a very non-consensual sexual
Oh yeah, that was a bit weird.
it was
Yeah.
a lot of weird moments in the movie where I was just like, wow, is this how far we've come that it just looks so weird.
And I go ahead, Quinn.
I was gonna say it just felt like there was so many scenes that just made me feel uncomfortable. kind of like Escaping Las Vegas, just on a different like level.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
because they were like edgy or anything like that, just because
Right.
it was just like awkward.
Where he's
Like,
like
the
casually
conversations were
stalking her at
awkward.
the end of the movie.
Right. Or Skip when he's talking to the mom after delivering the groceries.
Oh,
You're like, what
yeah.
is going on here? Like, what? And
I like-
then Nicolas Cage in the shower just watching people like
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
do whatever they're doing.
So freaking
That was-
weird.
That was weird and uncomfortable, but like in a way, it's kind of like what saved this movie is its like turn into like being bad, funny, like just like comical and how insane it is. And I feel like this pairs well with Nicolas Cage doing his freakouts. I do think Nicolas Cage is by far the best acting in this movie. And I thought his freakouts were some of the most entertaining parts.
Yeah,
The
I'd
cageisms.
agree.
I think we call them cageisms.
Yeah, but calling Nicolas Cage the best actor in this movie isn't really that high of a bar.
True.
Just gonna throw
Fair.
that out there.
Who else is in this movie? Yeah, I knew none of the other actors from like other movies.
I looked at some of them. I didn't recognize they were in other movies. I didn't recognize any of them right away though. Also, this movie feels like it's torn between two things. One is like being like like a lot of the dialogue you get is like of like a coming of age teen kind of drama, and then it's like rated R with a bunch of naked people and sex. So I felt like it's kind of like between those two things because it has that, but then like later on it's like this coming of age teen dialogue, and I'm like, what am I watching here? Like where she's sitting on the couch with her father, and
Right.
and it's
He's
like,
probably blown out of his mind too. He's probably high as shit.
Yeah, he's like he smokes in the bathroom and then he comes out and he's like he brings out these old pictures and he's like looking. I was like, where is that picture? I wonder how much.
Right.
I wonder if I could find that picture.
the mother and the father of Julie, I think probably the worst acting in this movie.
Yeah, they were great. I wrote a quip for them. I said it's cool because Julie's parents are made up of a hippie dad who smokes pot in the bathroom, as I said, and Elizabeth Warren, which was basically her mom. It's like this very enlightened woman who like doing like yoga stretches and like
Another uncomfortable scene.
Yeah.
She walks in the house, the mom's just like bending herself over, like don't know what's going on. And she holds it for like I don't even know how long. You're like, what?
Just like it's normal. Yeah.
What is the director thinking here? Yeah, hold that pose. All right. All right, we got it. Like what?
Yeah.
Also, the scene where so the guy who's delivering to the mom who's trying to hit on the kids, Skip, and then he shows up thinking he's gonna find her, and then he finds the daughter, and he's having sex with the daughter, and the mom walks in on them, and then the scene's just dropped. You never see. I don't think you ever see like what happens. It just ends. I don't remember them ever coming back.
Right.
To that.
Nope.
It happens all over the story. It happened with the Tommy and the girl that he like sexed up or whatever, or like sexually like whatever it did.
Nothing happened with that.
Right.
Well, I mean, I would actually argue that actually got a conclusion though, because the woman was like, hey, I don't want to sleep with you, and then you just drop me, like, if we do this, I want us to be an item.
We got to be going together, as they say.
Yeah, like
True.
Tommy's like, nope, not doing it. So then he leaves, and then still like walks downstairs and tells his friend he slept with her.
Right, but didn't he kind of threaten her like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell whatever her name, I
Right.
can't remember her name, that we did this." And it's
Yeah.
like kind of like a blackmail situation that you as the audience are like, "Okay, when's this gonna come up? Like, are we gonna see some sort of like fallout from this, like friend fighting, or I don't
Yeah.
know, nothing."
Never brought up again.
Something like that. He's a predator at that point.
Right.
What he's doing, like with how he's manipulating. He's like, oh well, she won't rat me out, because if she rats me out, then she's gonna hurt her best friend or whatever. It's like, wow, that is like incredibly fucked up. So
Right.
that guy was awful, and it just had nothing came of that. But the movie does have a lot of redeeming moments for cage heads out there, as I like to call them, us people who are kind of experts in this field of Nicolas Cage. Though, because this movie, even though it's brimming with this very horrible teenage boy sexuality, it is at the same time full of all these great moments. For example, Nicolas Cage looking kind of just angry and stupid generally all the time, and having like kind of just being like a nothing man, but just, you know, like he's at one point, like he's driving down the streets of LA and like talking to people as if he knows them. And it's like, you know, all the people come out and it's like all these, it's like,
Then, like the weird like screaming yelp he lets out when he's driving the car.
yeah. He's just like rebel without a cause, basically.
Yeah,
right?
full Cage.
He's just, you know, but it's great. There's a couple other, I mean, there's a lot of great subtle moments too that aren't, because, you know, Cage moments are a spectrum where you got on one end the scene from It Could Happen to You, where he roller skates into a pond. That's pretty high energy. It's pretty funny. I'm pretty sure there's orchestral music playing as it's happening. But then you also have things like him walking out of a fast food joint, delivering a bunch of burgers to the car, and of course, cars populated by the asshole and his people.
Yeah, part of that stalking thing again, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah.
But then he's like talking to him, and he accidentally spits his gum out onto the guy, and it's like so many subtle moments like that in the movie that I loved.
Yeah.
Right.
When they leave the party and he stops and he's like yelling and he kicks the car and he says, "Nobody's gonna tell me who I can score with."
Yeah. I think those are my favorite scenes though, of him as the ticket collector at the theater, and then the food runner. I think those are actually my favorite scenes.
Well, I think my favorite. I mean, like in the same vein as what you're saying, I feel like my favorite moment the whole movie was when he's like basically Julie goes to get in the taxi, right, and then he's in the taxi, and she just looks at him and flatly says, "Get out of the car." And he says, just like without even, you know, batting an eyelash, she goes, "But Julie, I love you." And it's just like so overplayed and stupid, and like that was the tone of the whole movie.
Yeah.
That and the montage in the middle of the movie, that was the entire song.
Oh my God.
You guys remember that?
Yes, I specifically wrote down this montage is going on for way too long.
I was going down and I wrote, they got so far, and I was like, okay, they're gonna take it to the bridge and then they're gonna stop at the bridge.
Nope,
the bridge. No, they keep going right through the whole fucking bridge.
I should have timed that thing. Oh my God, did it go on forever? They were just figuring montages out at that point. They hadn't really got it down yet.
It was 83.
Oh geez, it took
Right.
so long.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
But that was only like a week of time though, right? Because like they came back and they're like, "Oh, Julie's been hanging out with this guy for like the past like week or two," and I'm like, that was only 1 week of time.
Yeah.
Like they were doing so much together all the time.
I mean, basically, they were just doing the same shit over and over again.
That's true.
You know, but it was like but it was just like, okay, we get that this is their montage scene where they're supposed to be falling in love, but they just keep it going. They're like over and over again, and it's like, the movie at the beginning is like that, where it feels really slow. Like there's all this shit going on that it's just like the same thing.
Yeah.
And then as it goes on, it's like all of a sudden you're at the end, but there's of course
Right.
no resolution. But that's kind of the whole movie, I guess. Like all this
Yeah.
stuff happens and nothing. They run away. It's really cheesy.
Right.
The running away part, I'm still wrapping my head around exactly how exactly that worked. Because
Yeah.
okay, so it's like Randy continuing with his stalking goes to prom, and then after several minutes, several scenes of Julie telling Randy to buzz off. Now Randy just goes to prom and crashes the prom, beats up Tommy, and then she's like, "Oh, you beat him up. I guess I'll go with you now." And then takes off in the car, and the driver that Tommy rented.
Yeah. Whatever the limo driver
It
was. Yeah.
no freaking sense.
Whatever the lady wants.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a valid point, Kudra, but I think what the movie's trying to tell us is that she loved Randy.
Didn't that driver, wasn't it like that in the movie where like everybody knew Nicolas Cage's character because he was just like a kind of a street kid that like knew everybody. Like
He knew everybody on the Sunset Strip, right?
I feel like he like whatever that car was they got in at the end, the driver was just like, oh, like this guy, like, oh, I know this guy, like let's go.
Say
like,
less. Let's go.
Yeah, that was everybody he met in the movie.
So
also, who was his sidekick?
I don't remember the name.
I forget his name.
Oh, that was the actor I was going to look up because I was like, he first started out like he looked like. At first, I was like, "Is it Sting?" No, and I was like, "Is it Quentin Tarantino?" No, but I'm on the right track.
Did you know that Julie? Did you see the part where Julie like sleeps with like a clown doll? Did anyone else notice the clown doll she had in her hand?
I feel like I did not.
Yeah, it was like her like stuffed animal, security stuffed animal clown thing.
Mm-hmm.
His friend is played by Cameron Dye. His name was Fred.
Fred, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess individual rankings. Not a good movie. Had some Nicolas Cage spots that I thought were okay. That kind of brought the movie up a little bit. Nicolas Cage definitely was the good part of this movie. And I think for me, this sits squarely in the D tier. Not like good, but D kind of. You know, it's a little below a C, but good enough to be a D. That's probably where my individual ranking sits.
I guess
yeah. Go ahead, Quinn.
I was gonna. I guess I won't put it as low as I put Leaving Las Vegas because it didn't make me that uncomfortable. And there were some funny moments. Like I like the dad a lot. The dad was sweet. So I'll probably put it. I'll put it as a D as well. I think a D is a solid ranking.
D for dad.
D for dad. The scene where they break up or whatever, where Randy like storms off. He's like, "Yeah, fuck you."
Right.
That was one of the best Nicolas Cage scenes because it was like it went so quick. It was like, I can't see you anymore. He's like, "Oh, it's because you're dumbass friends, isn't it?" And then he just all of a sudden he's gone. You're like, "What just happened?"
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that was a good scene anyway. Yeah, D for me.
Josh,
I'm just trying to remember what I gave Moonstruck.
I can actually tell.
You gave it an E.
You did give it an E.
Damn. If I gave Moonstruck an E, then I should give this an E.
We support altering ratings if you change your opinions in the future. So if you would like to make a change, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I mean, I can stick with that, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna keep the trend going. I'm gonna go with D.
D.
Yeah. Give it
Kudro's
Yeah.
about to end this trend. You can tell by
has more
Just real
redeeming.
quick, you see, Moonstruck wasn't that bad. I told you.
Moonstruck. Yeah,
It's a
Moonstruck
it's a
is
C.
all right.
I
I
just
mean-
feel like it has a more like this movie has a lot more redeeming Cage moments in it.
Okay.
True.
Fair
That's
enough.
true.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Moonstruck is-
He's more of a primary actor in this one, whereas in the other one, that shares the leading.
he kind of comes
That's
in
true.
halfway through.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, Kudrow, your thoughts?
I mean, I feel like Moonstruck should be higher than. I mean, like this movie sucks. I hated this movie.
You just don't
Ah,
like the discomfort, do you? I kind of like.
There is so much wrong with this movie. I mean, like, I already talked a little bit about high schoolers, casually just showing that on screen. This movie is a perfect example of tropes that just need to die. I mean, the whole stalking is love thing. Please, can just do away with that. Burn it to the ground. We need never tell another story with that trope. Love at first sight, as far as I'm concerned, is another one that could just die because it makes no sense. Infatuation at first sight, sure. Lust at first sight, absolutely. Love, absolutely not.
I don't know.
Kudrow's out looking in the statute of limitations on all these crimes.
I should, totally should. I mean, I'm torn between an E and an F.
Wow.
This might be my first. I'm thinking this might be my first F.
Oh
I hate
my!
this movie. There's no Cage movie that saves this. There's no Cage moment that saves this movie
Wow.
at all.
All right. All right. So which one? Which one are you going with? Is it an E or an F for you?
I mean, if I gave Moonstruck an E, then I think this is worse. I gotta go F.
All right. He's
This
giving
is
it an
F.
F. All right. So let's look at the overall here. I'll pull that up. All right. So the overall. We have Valley Girl. All right, so we're somewhere between D and F here. It sounds like we got 3 people in the D tier. We got Kudrow in the F. Kudrow, how do you feel about this being in the D tier?
I feel like it is a crime against D tier movies. But I mean,
Moonstruck
like,
is also in the D tier. What if this was in the D tier and we placed it after Moonstruck?
I feel like I rating as an
belong
F.
in
You
the
have
tier.
3 Ds. I mean, I feel like it's fair that it is in the D.
All right, so you're not going to argue for E at this point. We're going to put it in D tier, and do we agree it goes after Moonstruck? Or
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a fan of Moonstruck, so
I didn't hate Moonstruck. I feel like this and Moonstruck are both kind of like watchable movies, but not good movies.
I will never watch this movie again.
All right, if Kudrow's not going to argue against it, we're going to put it in the D tier.
How is Leaving Las Vegas better than Moonstruck though? What happened there?
yeah. What happened there, guys?
There was a lot of hate for Moonstruck. I think there was a lot of hate for Moonstruck that dragged it down because I believe I had Moonstruck higher.
Yeah.
It was me and John. So
Yeah,
Moonstruck had Colton
You were
and
part
Quinn
of
at
the problem.
C.
Well, we don't need to
Cool.
name names, but
Yeah, Colton and Quinn had Moonstruck at C, and then Josh and I had it at E.
okay. Well,
Or do we think Moonstruck should go up to a C? Is that what we're saying here?
No.
Josh, would you like to rate your Moonstruck score?
I don't know, man. I'm thinking about. No, I mean Moonstruck's fine where it is, I guess. But
All right. Well, then Valley Girl gets in the D tier.
D for Dad, baby. Let's go.
there's also dad drama it's like dad drama in every single movie. It's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a kind of a weird dad in that movie.
A weird dad.
I've never really seen a character like that.
They had a nice business going there, though.
Oh my god, we didn't talk about the health food store where the guy was just eating like a
Oh yeah,
plain
what was that guy
ass-
doing?
Oh, I didn't even notice. What was he eating?
No, not was he eating. He like kept switching seats, and then at the end, he's like, "Maybe I should talk to Julie." And I was like, "What?" Just like the creepy
Yeah.
uncle or something, or what?
I think so. I think he's like a horny guy hanging around the health food store.
I can't believe you gave me an F, Kudrow. F? Wow.
This movie sucks.
Oh my gosh.
Much like Leaving Las Vegas.
It wasn't good, but
Oh, if you remember what I said about leaving Las Vegas, I mean, I'll reiterate. I did not enjoy watching that movie, but that doesn't mean I don't appreciate the story that the movie told.
I think I'm in agreement with you that Leaving Las Vegas is better as a movie to watch. But yeah,
I feel like that. I feel like Leaving Las Vegas was very much a movie that is worth watching once.
yeah.
This movie deserves to have never existed.
Wow.
I guess I could see the argument for an E, but F's reserved for movies like Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
And I totally disagree with that opinion.
So I guess we won't be in a rush to watch the latest Valley Girl then that was made.
Oh, it's a musical. I looked at that. It's a
Yeah.
musical. I vote we never watch any musicals unless it's
Okay.
Mamma Mia or Mamma Mia 2. We should do.
Okay.
I would actually be okay with Les Miserables. The latest
that was a
one
good one.
with Hugh Jackman. I forget the second actor, but was actually good.
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, yeah.
Guys,
Yep.
let's do a ranking of Mamma Mia's where we watch Mamma Mia 1 and 2.
At that point, we might as well just do a ranking of musicals.
No,
Right.
I F tier for everything except for Mamma Mia, which is probably like an E, but
You a big ABBA fan?
big Pierce Brosnan fan.
Oh, okay.
I've never actually watched Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
All right. So what do we have up next for next week for ranking of Cage after we get over our Valley Girl issues?
Oh, what was that? Yeah, Kudrow, are we doing? We're doing a video game movie next week too, right?
Oh, we already talked about Uncharted for the video game movie.
Oh yeah. So reiterate, we're watching Uncharted for the ranking of Cage next week. We're gonna watch Rumblefish.
Wow, that sounds great.
I can tell you about it.
What is that?
I don't actually know. I just have the cover, but I will tell you.
I already
Rumblefish.
have a feeling this
Cage,
movie's
right?
gonna suck. I'm calling it now.
Oh, he's on a motorcycle. That would be great.
Wait a minute. Is Nicolas Cage not a? Okay, I think he's the main character, a primary character in this movie.
Francis Ford
Oh my
Coppola?
god, it's in
It's
black and white. Oh god,
Isn't Francis Ford Coppola his dad?
it's his name, or yeah, yes,
Something like that?
yes, that is correct. Yeah, so Rumblefish. Ooh. And yeah, I think that's it. Anything else from you guys? All right. Join us next week for ranking of Cage and ranking of video game movies. We'll still be playing Hades. And you can find me on Twitter at Boltron City. You can find Josh on Instagram at Semanticalities. Kudrow, you can't find him on the internet except for here. You can find Quinn on our Twitter account at SRank Media Club. We stream this show live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. You can find the audio versions of our ranking of episodes on all podcast feeds. If you like the show, please follow us on Twitch and YouTube and give us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice. And we'll see you next week.
Stay bitchin'.